Again, we've only got two items so far. Something valuable and something that makes you what? Something that makes you what? Curious. Something valuable, something that makes you curious. The third meaning of ay is al-jiha, direction. An ayah is something valuable, it's something that makes you curious, and something that points to a direction. When they look at the leftovers of the camp, they know that the camp went in that direction. Every ayah of Allah is pointing to a direction, and that direction is Allah Himself. Every ayah of Allah is pointing back to Allah. It is giving you directions to Allah. So the first one was what? You call it out loud, nice and loud. You guys, there's many of you here. Valuable. What second? Curious. Third, direction. At-ta'ajjub, something amazing is also called an ayah. That's why they say, Ayyu rajul hadha, what kind of an amazing guy is that? Amazing thing. Ayyu bayt, what an amazing house. An ayah is something valuable, something amazing. Now, it's supposed to make you wonder. You know, people who don't believe in God, people who don't have religion, they're pretty depressed. They're never amazed. Look at the bright sunny morning, subhanallah. Yeah, so sunny. So hot. The believer looks at the creation of Allah and he is amazed. She's amazed. The disbeliever says, they're just depressed. They're not amazed by it. They're never impressed. And the believer is constantly impressed because every ayah is a source of amazement, of wonder. Then, an-nida wa tanbih, beautiful. The word ya, you know, have you heard the phrase ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu? Have you heard that before? Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu. The ay in ayyuha is adatu tanbih wa nida. What that means in simple English is the ay part is there to get your attention and it is calling to you. Every ayah is calling you and trying to get your attention. Every ayah is calling you and trying to get your attention. In other words, human beings must pay attention to the reality around them. Everything around them, if you pay attention to it, you will learn lessons. If you don't pay attention, you'll learn nothing. So it's a means of getting your attention. That's a tanbih. The word ayah, another derivative of it is the word E. E is actually an Arabic word, E. E means yes. Like if somebody's talking to you and say, hey, did you go to divine speech? You say, E. That means yes, absolutely. Now, those of you that know some Arabic, what's the other word for yes? Na'am. Na'am. But E is used when you are absolutely convinced and you say, yes, I got it. It's yes when you are absolutely certain. In other words, the ayah is a means of bringing you certainty. It will give you conviction. It's a source of conviction in ayah. The ayat are enough for you to be convinced. As part of that, I want to share something on the side with you. This is, again, an important philosophical point. The Quran is beautiful and because it's made of ayat, and the ayat are supposed to give you conviction. They're supposed to convince you that they are from Allah. But the Quran itself teaches you, إِنَّ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ آيَاتٌ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. The skies and the earth already have ayat enough for people who want to be convinced. The skies and the earth have ayat, not just for you to think, but also to be convinced. In other words, conviction comes from all the ayat, not just the ayat of the Quran, the ayat of the sky, the earth, all existence. They're also ayat and they're enough to give you conviction too. Subhanallah. Every ayah is enough to give you conviction. And we'll see the implications of that, inshallah, as the day progresses. Two more left. I'll go through it again. The first meaning of ayah, by the way, was something valuable. Then we talked about a curiosity. Then we talked about direction. Then we talked about being amazed. Then we talked about something that's calling you. Then we talked about, certainty. Now we're going to talk about the word ayah, meaning itself. Ay means meaning. Like in you're reading tafsir, they say هذه الكلمة أي تلك الكلمة. They say this word means that word. Ay actually means meaning itself. You know why that's beautiful? Because Allah is saying everything doesn't just have value, it has meaning. It's something meaningful. For someone who doesn't believe in Allah, the universe has no meaning. Life has no meaning. It's pointless. It's purposeless. The word ayah itself indicates that it has meaning. It has substance. Then this is why the next meaning of ayah, the verb that comes from ayah is ta'ayya, yata'ayya, which means to have intention, strong intention and motive. The ayah gives purpose. To have purpose is inside the word ayah. And finally, the ayah is what you commonly know as al-alama, a sign. Have you heard the translation of ayah as a sign before? Right? And that's part of the meaning of an ayah. It's a common usage of the word ayah as a sign. All of this is what an ayah is. Now you tell me, how unfair is it to call it a verse? It's just, or sentence. You just can't. I don't, the harder I try, the more I realize the only thing I can call the ayah is what? Ayah. The only thing I can call the surah is what? A surah. It's just on its own. It's unique. So these are the ayat of the Quran. So this was my basic introduction to why the Quran as literature is unique. The surah cannot be compared to anything else. The ayah cannot be compared to anything else. And in the macro studies, we'll even look at the word Quran. The name of the book altogether, Quran. And we'll look at that and say, what's the benefit of calling it Quran? Does it give us some clues as to how we can understand it better? But that's tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala. Now let's talk a little bit about Arabic before I give you your break. A little bit about Arabic, an introduction to Arabic. It's not an Arabic class. But those of you that are writing this down, here's what you're going to write down. There are 3 kinds of Arabic. There are 3 kinds of Arabic. The first one is spoken Arabic. Spoken Arabic. The second one is formal Arabic. Formal, F-O-R-M-A-L, formal Arabic. And the third one is Old Arabic. You can call it classical Arabic, Old Arabic, ancient Arabic, whatever you want to call it. So, you tell me now, what was the first one? Spoken Arabic. Second one? Formal Arabic. Third one? Old Arabic, classical Arabic. Before we start looking into the Quran, finding amazement in it, we have to know that the Quran was revealed in Arabic, but we have to also understand which Arabic. Because there are at least how many kinds of Arabic? 3. So we have to understand the difference between these 3 before we get into the Arabic of the Quran and analyze and extract benefits from the Quran. This is critical. So let's talk about spoken Arabic. Spoken Arabic is the Arabic that is used when you order a shawarma. It is used if you're watching an Egyptian soap opera, astaghfirullah al-azim. If you are, spoken Arabic is what's also called Ammiya or al-Lahjat, right? This is dialectical, so the Algerians have their own, and the Egyptians have their own, and the Syrians have their own, and the Moroccans have their own. The Palestinians have way their own. This is totally different. Like the Falahis have their own and whatever. Kayfa haluk, you must have heard that before. Kayfa haluk. The Falahi says Chif halach. That's how they say how are you. The ka becomes cha. Chif halach. The Egyptian says Izayik beek. Right? So, I don't know where that came from even. I tried finding it. Okay? So the formal or the spoken Arabic is basically street Arabic, you can call it. Street Arabic, informal Arabic, and everybody's got their own dialect. Everybody's got their own accent. And sometimes they're very different from each other. Like sometimes an Egyptian, if he's talking to an Algerian, may have a really hard time. If he's speaking Ammiya, he may have a really hard time. Like, what'd you say? Because especially after colonialism, there's some influences of like French and Spanish and other influences that came into those languages, and they got mixed in. And the Arabs that live in America, they even have like English mixed into their Arabic. Like I was talking to an imam one time, and then he's on the phone, and he said to his wife, "Ana lam ashub ba'd." I was like, "Lam ashub ba'd." What does that mean? I didn't. Then he said, "What did you say? ماذا قلت في العربية?" He said, "Oh, I didn't shop yet." أنا لم أشب. So shabba yashubu became his verb for shopping.
Similarly, one of my friends went to Egypt,
and he's trying to rent an apartment. And he goes, هذه الشقة مليت. Mulayyat. And he's like, Mulayyat? What's Mulayyat? I've never heard of. Oh, Mulayyat, well lit. From light. So it's spoken Arabic. Okay, there are no rules. You can make it up as you go. Okay. The second kind of Arabic is what? By the way, the Quran is not in spoken Arabic. You should know. Alhamdulillah. The second is what? Formal Arabic. Formal Arabic is the Arabic of the newspaper, the Arabic maybe of Al Jazeera, the Arabic of the khatira and the lecture done by most shuyukh, the lectures that you listen to, that you download. Those of you who are students of Arabic, you listen to lectures of sheikhs in Arabic. That's formal Arabic, but sometimes they tell you a joke, then they switch over to Ammiya immediately. Right? So they do that sometimes. So, and sometimes, for example, I love listening to Sheikh Muhammad Ratib al-Nabulsi, for example. It's really nice, clean. He's like your uncle sitting next to you, holding his arm over your shoulder, telling you a lecture. He's so nice. And you just feel happy and cuddly inside when you listen to Sheikh Muhammad Ratib al-Nabulsi. And he's got this wonderful explanation of the entire Quran online. We had the honor of him visiting our campus not too long ago in Texas. He visited, mashallah. So anyway, so he's talking and he's giving his lecture. In the middle of it, sometimes because he gets fired up, he goes back to his Syrian dialect. Right? And in the Syrian dialect, they use fi, the word fi, which in Arabic, in actual formal Arabic, it means in. But in informal Arabic, in spoken Arabic, it means there is. There is. So he says, fi sayyare, fi bayt, fi shuqqe, fi this, fi that, fi the other. I was like, fi? What's inside a car and inside an apartment? Because there's an apartment, you have a this, you have a that, you have a that. So he uses the word what? Fi. Fi. Okay? There's a crazy story, but I might as well tell you. The Urdu speakers, any Urdu speakers here? Urdu speakers, like 2 of you? Very good. Congratulations. Okay, so the word fi, the word mafi is an Urdu word, means sorry. Mafi means sorry. But mafi in Arabic does not mean sorry. You know what mafi means in Arabic? There's nothing. There's nothing. Like you go to the Arab guy and you say, Pepsi? Mafi. Chocolate? Mafi. Okay, Coke? Fi. You understand? So the Urdu speaker says mafi means what? Sorry. And the Arab speaker says mafi means nothing. Or there is nothing. Poor Pakistani guy, he goes to Umrah and he's standing at the haram, he's going, Allah mafi, Allah mafi, Allah mafi. And the shurti, the cop, gets down, he starts beating him. Fee! So, but anyway, there's spoken Arabic and there's what? Formal Arabic. Now, I speak some Arabic. I don't speak spoken Arabic, I do speak formal Arabic. Those of you that are going to an Islamic university, the professor speaks in Arabic. Guess which Arabic he speaks? Formal Arabic. The books and the PhD papers that are written, they're written in formal Arabic, okay? Those of you that are victims of the book called Al-Arabiya Bayna Yadayk, that's supposed to be formal Arabic, okay? So, formal Arabic is what we find around us in those formal kinds of settings. Modern books and papers that are published are all formal. But, I need everybody here to know, there's a big difference between spoken and formal, and there's a big difference between formal and, what's the last one? Old Arabic, ancient Arabic, classical Arabic, there's also a big difference. And I need everybody, before this introduction is done, to understand the difference between formal Arabic and Old Arabic. Because a lot of students make the mistake and they don't think there's a difference. So a lot of students think if they know formal Arabic, that must mean they also know Old Arabic. And so what's the common mistake is nowadays, formal Arabic, they call it Al-Arabiya Al-Fusha. Al-Arabiya Al-Fusha. Fusha is used, formal Arabic. And so they say the Quran is in Fusha. And I am also learning what? Fusha, which means it's the same. Fusha is Fusha. But actually, this is Al-Arabiya Al-Fusha Al-Mu'asira. And there's Al-Arabiya Al-Fusha Al-Qadima. There's modern Fusha and old Fusha. You have to maintain a difference between those two if you're going to make correct analyses of the Quran. Now let's understand why there's a difference between those two. The Arabs at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and even before that time, for thousands of years, even before that time, they lived in a desert. They lived in a place that did not have a lot of rivers and trees and greenery, and they definitely didn't have oil yet. Like, it was just desert. Now, in that environment, who were their neighbors? The Romans were their neighbors. The Abyssinians were their neighbors. The Persians were their neighbors, right? They had these kingdoms and empires that were their neighbors. But everybody left the Arabs alone. You would think the Romans would want to conquer more territory and take over the Arabs. You would also think that the Persians would like to conquer more territory and take over the Arabs. Because if you know something about big superpowers, they like to expand the size of their backyard. So the question is, how come nobody cares about what? The Arabs. How come nobody took over? And if they wanted to, could they have taken over? Yes, because they have massive armies, huge armies, and the Arabs had nothing, no resources. They were a Bedouin people. Easy to take over. The simple answer to why they didn't take over is there was no oil yet. Okay? That's the simple answer. Why should we send my soldiers, why should we send our soldiers to get barbecued in the middle of the sand? For what? Leave it alone. And if the Romans try to take over a little bit, then who will get nervous? The Persians on the other side. Because, you know, between two countries, usually there's a border and there's a no man's land. I love that name, no man's land. Right? It means I own a lot of land in the world. So the Arab land actually became a kind of no man's land. Because if the Romans move in or the Persians move in, then the other party gets nervous and it might break out into a war, so everybody left it alone. So the Arabs were basically left alone. Now when you are left alone, simple question, when you are left alone, who do you talk to? Each other. You only talk to each other. You don't really talk much to people outside because you're only mostly spending time with each other. It's true, some Arabs did some trade, but for the most part, a lot of people didn't come in. People only went out and came back in. So it was an isolated culture for the most part. When that culture was isolated, Arabic became more and more and more refined, and it took less and less outside influence. Why is the apartment guy in Egypt saying this apartment is mulayyat? Why is he saying that? Because he's influenced by what? English, movies. There's outside influence. Outside influence affects language, doesn't it? It affects language. But if you have no outside influence, you keep your own original language. It's retained, it's refined. So the Arabs for thousands of years are, for the most part, left alone, which means their Arabic gets refined and refined and refined, and there is no outside influence. And this Arabic becomes so advanced. You know, when you talk to each other for a long time, you develop your own language. Like when two people are friends for a long time, they have their own code. Nobody else understands that code. They understand each other. You understand that point? Socially, that's true too. Socially, the Arabs would talk to each other and they develop this advanced code among each other. Only they understand it, nobody else gets it. So when somebody comes from the outside, they say that guy is pretty much, he's like, pardon the term, he's retarded. He's ajami. He's retarded. He can't understand our speech. We're way up there. We're speaking a code. So they developed this code. It was very advanced. It really was. It's impressive. It's also important to note that these Arabs, what did they produce? Did they produce beautiful buildings? Did they produce the world's greatest artifacts, art, literature? They produced pretty much nothing. And every nation has to have something that they're proud of. They say we have the world's greatest something. But the Arabs we have the world's greatest, so what do we have? Language. So they became proud of their language, because if you look around, there's not much else to be proud of. So they really took care of their language, because when a nation becomes proud of something, they really take care of it. They really take care of it. Now, let's take a step further. You understand why Arabic was so refined and so developed? It got so refined and so developed that the way they used to think, it's fascinating. I'll just give you one example. I don't want to give you lots of examples. Just one example to make this point, how refined it was. I'll tell you the story of a poet. This guy was really poor. He didn't have any money. And he was married. So his wife used to complain to him about what? Money. So he made a poem to answer his wife. And in the poem he said, فَالسَّيْلُ حَرْبٌ عَلَى مَكَانٍ عَالِي. Strange poem. He says, heavy rain, listen to the English, it sounds crazy. Heavy rain is at war against a house on top of a hill. I know that sounds insane. I'll say that again. Heavy rain is having a war. Against who? Against a house. And where's the house? On top of a hill. I know you're poor. You're also insane. You understand? But this was actually his genius. He was speaking code. Let me decode it for you. Imagine there's heavy rain. Imagine there's a hill. There's a mountain. And on top of the mountain there is a house. When it's raining, where does the water go? Does it stay on the top or does it go to the bottom? It goes to the bottom of the hill, yes? So it floods the bottom. But the house, it attacks the house, but it never stays there. The attacks all fail because the only flood that happens is at the bottom. The poet is saying, wealth comes from Allah, wealth comes from the sky, but I'm a high person. Whenever wealth comes to me, it leaves me. And the people that are wealthy are down there in the flood, in the mud. They had a code. They spoke in code, man. And it's funny. It's sometimes really funny. It's sometimes really fascinating how creative they were in the code that they developed. But you know what happened when Islam became victorious? Let's fast forward. Islam became victorious. Allah gave this deen victory. إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ. People started entering into this deen. وَآخَرِينَ مِنْهُمْ لَمَّا يَلْحَقُوا بِهِمْ. There are other nations, other ethnicities that haven't joined the ummah yet. They started joining. The Asia started getting conquered. The Roman territories, the Persian territories started getting conquered. And they're now becoming part of the world of Islam. Are all those regions Arab? Are all those regions Arab? No. So there's a huge population of new Muslims. Huge population of new Muslims all of a sudden, within a few years. Now all of those people become students of Arabic? Yes? When you're students of Arabic, do you speak good Arabic or really bad Arabic? You speak really bad Arabic. I mean, it's really embarrassing. Now there are millions of people that are speaking really bad Arabic. And because all of them have become Muslim, they want to come and make Umrah, they want to visit Medina, they want to settle in the Arab lands so they can learn. And if a lot of foreigners come into the country, for thousands of years, the Arabs were by themselves. You remember that? And now because of Islam, all these foreigners came in. These Persians and these Romans and these Indians, everybody came in. Do you think when foreigners come into the country, does the local language get better or does the local language get worse? It's happening everywhere in the world nowadays, isn't it? Foreigners come and the language goes down. Arabic started going down because of Islam. Actually, because of Islam. Because there were too many what? Non-Arabs. Too many of us. Yeah, we did it. Now what happens is, for example, in the United States, I spent a lot of my young years in New York. And New York is an immigration capital. People from all over the world move into New York. And I realized something as I traveled across the United States. The worst English spoken in the United States is in New York. That is also because it is the capital of immigration. Others are coming in. The big cities have the worst local language. I bet you the villages in Malaysia have a lot better local language than the city in Malaysia. Kuala Lumpur probably has much worse. I guarantee it. Why? People are coming in from the outside. Foreign influence. You understand? So now Arabic starts going down. And you would think this happened hundreds of years over time. Does it take a long time for a language to go down or a short time? We should know the answer to that nowadays. It takes a very short time. It takes an extremely short time. I've had personal experience with this. I learned Urdu in a Pakistani school until I was maybe 15 or 14 years old. And then I left the country. I've never been back to Pakistan since. So the only Urdu I know is from what I learned back then. This is 20 years ago. Now, after all these years, I was asked to give a lecture in Urdu. So I gave a lecture in Urdu, but which Urdu do I remember? The Urdu I learned in school. So I started getting complaint emails. Your Urdu is too complicated. Use more English words in your Urdu. I said, what happened here? You know, because even in Pakistan, the Urdu of 20 years ago is not the Urdu now. It's gone. So the people from back then don't speak the language that they speak now. It's deteriorated. You understand? So now, having said that, let me tell you, even the Sahaba noticed. Did you know that? Even the Sahaba noticed that Arabic is going down. There's an interesting narration of Ali radiallahu anhu. He was walking by and he saw some kids playing with each other. And they're talking to each other. And he said, هذه ليست لسان هذا ليس لسان العرب. This is not the language of the Arabs. They're talking to each other, the Arab kids talking to each other in Arabic. And he's saying, that's not Arabic. What's going on here? Language is going down. It's crazy. The state of emergency were being noticed by people like Umar radiallahu anhu, Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu. There are narrations about this. Arabic is going down. Therefore, there were actually, now I'm at the conclusion of this introduction, there were three movements in Islam, the three protection movements. There was the movement to protect the Quran, there was the movement to protect Hadith, and there was the movement to protect Arabic. There were three movements. Most of the time people know about two movements. Which two movements? The movement to protect the Quran and the movement to protect Hadith. But they don't really remember the movement to protect Arabic. How do you protect Arabic though? All the big cities of Islam are getting contaminated by foreigners. So you cannot get good Arabic in the cities anymore. If you want to get the good, clean, old, unfiltered, uncontaminated Arabic, you must go to the villages. You must go out in the desert that's still empty and go find the Bedouins that are still speaking the Arabic. So you find the stories of ulama like Ash-Shafi'i rahimahullah, Al-Asma'i and others. They leave the city and they go out in the desert and they're just sitting out traveling in the desert, and you think, oh, they traveled in the desert because of taqwa, because they didn't want to be in the city, because it was too mulayyat. You know? No. One of the reasons they traveled outside of the city was because they were trying to capture and record the original language. The original language. Like Asma'i, one of my favorite guys, I'll tell you a story about Al-Asma'i. He's kind of, rahmahullah, I want to go to Jannah. One of my motivations is I want to meet Al-Asma'i. Because he's one of the funniest people I've ever read about. He's hilarious. You know when people study for a long time, they become a little strange? If you spend your life in the library, you become a little weird. Like, you know, you're not socially awkward kind of thing. He was, rahimahullah, socially awkward. He did not care what came in his mouth, he just said it. So he used to write a journal of his travels. He's learning Arabic, right? So he's traveling, and he wrote his journal. He was traveling somewhere, and he came across a man. He says, I came across a man who was really ugly. And he wrote this in his journal. I'm like, wow. You are really honest. And you don't care. But this man was really nice to me. Because nobody else knew me in the village, he took me in, he brought me to his house, he asked his wife to cook for me. So, his wife was cooking for him and she brought the food. And he said, I looked at his wife for 1 second, and I remember she was extremely beautiful. He wrote that down too. And a normal alim would not write that down. This is Al-Asma'i. He doesn't care. And then he wrote down, and when she left the room, I talked to, she could still hear him from the kitchen. He talked to the husband, he said, كيف هذا? How did this happen? See, that's Al-Asma'i. He just doesn't care. Like, I don't understand this situation here. Does she have vision problems or? So she got angry at him. She from the kitchen, she got angry at him. And she said, oh, you should have taqwa of Allah. Maybe he was really good to Allah and I am his reward. Or maybe I was really bad and he's my punishment. So Al-Asma'i, I brought up Al-Asma'i because he actually went on these strange journeys only to do what? To capture the old Arabic. Because the city was still speaking Arabic. It's true. The city was still speaking Arabic. But it wasn't as pure as the Arabic of the desert. Now why is it important to protect the Arabic of the desert? It was important because the Quran came in the Arabic of the desert. I want to leave you with a visual so you understand this problem. This is a very important problem in Islamic studies. You have glasses. You have glasses. And those glasses have a little bit of dirt on them. When you put those glasses on, and you don't even realize they have dirt on them. Everything you see looks what? Everything you see looks dirty. It doesn't look clean because you have what? Dirt on them. Sometimes your laptop has a stain on the screen, but you're looking at the file, the video, or the image, and you're like, that's kind of... You can't tell that that's a stain on the screen. It looks like a stain on the image itself. You understand? You have this dirt on the glasses. You don't think it's the dirt on the glasses. You think it's the dirt on what you see. Now, Arabic, old Arabic is clean glasses. Old Arabic is what? Clean glasses. And new Arabic is, the new formal Arabic even is still what? Some kind of dirty glass. Now, when you're looking at a diamond with dirty glasses, you see something shiny, but it's still dirty. Not that impressive. You look at the same diamond with what? Clear glasses, and what do you see? Oh my God, that's amazing. That's incredible. The problem is not with the diamond, the problem is with your glasses. We have to look at the Quran not from formal Arabic, but from classical Arabic. The problem is classical Arabic died. It died in the desert. Thank Allah they protected it. So we can go back and dig and find those meanings again. How many meanings I gave you of the word ayah today? You will not get those meanings of the word ayah in which Arabic? Formal Arabic. You will only get the meaning of the ayah in what? Classical Arabic. Because the modern Arab, even if he speaks really good Arabic, does not know that Arabic anymore. It died. It's a history study now. It is a research study now. So we have to go back and learn that language. And study that language. So we can analyze the Quran with the proper lens.